This is Money Motivation and Mike, and I am your host, Michael Wainwright. In charge of all the controls, as always, is audio engineer Jason Wainwright as well. And hello to you, world. This is the show that will change your life. Please contact us, info@mx3.vip, and you can find all of our content at mx3.vip as well. Go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@mx3podcast. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon, and that'll get you the notifications of when new content comes out. We today are continuing on our subject from last week, which is the Berkshire Hathaway annual meeting that happened a couple of weeks ago, and continuing on that process. And I got into some of the facts and the details and frankly, the foundation of the company and what all things are built on is the foundation, the hard rock, the concrete. Now, one correction here I need to make, Jason. I know I don't ever make mistakes, but I did not say this correctly. Berkshire Hathaway, longtime company, and everybody knows they're from Omaha, Nebraska, and a whole lot of people know that because of the Nebraska Furniture Mart. But when they started out in 1839 as the Valley Falls Company, they were actually located in Valley Falls, Rhode Island. So, little disclaimer there, that's where they were at that time. And then in 1929, when they merged with Berkshire Hathaway and on and on and on. And actually, they spent some time in Adams, Massachusetts along the way as well. So not totally just a Nebraska company all the way. Have had some stops along the way as they've gotten to where they are today. But continuing on with what I was kind of finishing up with on the questions and answers that Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger set up there and fielded throughout a Saturday afternoon. Continuing on with some of that stuff, let's just talk about some of the things here. And these are, I was really intrigued. As a matter of fact, these were some of the first comments that were made that really caught my attention because it's exactly the principles and philosophies of business that I believe in and how I have tried to grow my businesses as well. And one of the things, because, you know, Berkshire Hathaway owns almost 12% of Bank of America. And right off the bat, they made a good comment about the banks. And you know, the banks here in 2023 seem to be tightening up their belt, and the handing out of money is not as aggressive as it once was, you know, and frankly, and that's going on with all the banking industry, and you understand why they do it. You don't like it. I certainly don't like it. But we always say that you bank with the smaller banks because in the larger banks, you're just a number. Well, it's kind of becoming that way all across the board. They stick your financials, your Social Security number in, and if you meet the parameters, you get a loan. And if you don't, you don't. It's becoming that type of way. But one of the most important things that they said that, like I say, I totally agree with, is banks are for banking. Now, you go into a bank and there's a lot of other services there. But in my opinion, and that of the opinion of the Berkshire Hathaway chairman and co-chairman, banks are for banking, not for investments, not for going in and buying insurance, not for going in and doing some of these other services that a lot of banks are involved in. Banks are for banking. And that's exactly the way I agree. You know, we always say jack of all trades, master of none. And you go to your bank where you leave your money, where you trust someone with your money. And the FDIC, which now you can put $250,000 in one account and it be secured by our Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation. But at the end of the day, you should bank at your bank. And you should insure at your insurance company. Get your insurance coverage at your insurance company. And you should go to professional investors and brokers for your investments, not the banks, not the insurance companies. I've always been this big supporter of insurance and investments stay different. Yes, I am a term guy. I do believe in buying term and investing the difference in other things. And to this date, so here's a challenge to you insurance agents out there, and you can come on this show and we can get after it. To date, I have never, in my 33 years of accounting, have never had an insurance agent show me how buying whole life or universal life or any of those kind of products are better off than you buying term and putting the rest into an actual bona fide investment. But as I always say, as the disclaimer, these are my opinions, my knowledge, my information, my experiences, and only mine. And if you'd like to take on the challenge that Money Motivation and Mike has just given you of coming on this show and showing us how your product is better than the philosophy that I just gave out, Money Motivation and Mike just may become a promoter of your product. So there's you a test. There's you a thought. Go get your pencil and Big Chief tablet out and let's get after it. Banks are banks. Insurance is insurance. Investments are investments. And one of the other big things, we talk about the dollar, and we are supporters of the Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency, etc. And a lot of people like the euro, and we have all these different types of currency out there. And Charlie Munger said, the U.S. dollar is the currency. It's the only currency. And it's the currency that everybody else sets their standard to. So don't ever get confused by the fact that the U.S. dollar is not worth something, because it's worth everything. And $1 in your pocket is worth more than any other denomination out there. Now, maybe at the current time, $1 in a euro is valued at more than as 100 pennies and a dollar bill that you have, but everything is based off the U.S. dollar. The denomination that the United States continue to roll out there is still top dog. And he says there are no other options, quote. Also a big deal there about, and going on the back end of the banking and the investments and the insurance. They followed that up by saying you cannot master everything. You need to stay with what you are good at and become an expert and be able to take your knowledge and go out. If you build engines, if you change tires, then that's what you do. You're probably not going to your tire changer over here and getting your tires changed and asking them if you can open up a certificate of a deposit. That's just not how it works. But on the other hand, the land of opportunity is United States of America, and America has everything going for it. And that is a quote right off that stage during the Berkshire Hathaway meeting of the board of directors, or of the stockholder meeting, excuse me. The best investment, and I really like this one, and it's something that I have always lived on as well. The best investment in this world is always in yourself. Now, in yourself, that may mean that you're going out just like they did. Now, the best investment is always in yourself. And then we come back to Berkshire Hathaway, which is a holding company that owns lots of holdings and lots of other companies. But here's what that means. They invest in themselves because they have went out and obtained the information and the knowledge, the things that we talk about a lot on this show. Gather all the information, gather all the facts, come up with all of the different obstacles, good and bad, before you make a decision. And they've done that. They invest in themselves because themselves go out and gather information. And that's what allows them to come along and get into Dairy Queen, Pampered Chef, See's Candy, etc. The reason I bring up See's Candy is because they were eating that on the stage the other day. And they kind of had it hid, so you really couldn't tell exactly what the logo was. But Charlie Munger continued to eat candy throughout the process. I'm telling you, it was a very informal deal. It was impressive. Of course, they had their Coke drinks up there because the big owner of Coca-Cola. But always invest in yourself, and that's what they do. They invest in themselves. They go out, they get the information, and then they go leap into a company with all of the knowledge. And some of these things are so simple, and it's such common sense. Something as simple as what they said: spend less than you earn. Oh, well, that's alarming news. But here again, why do we not do that? Why do we spend more than we earn? Why do we continue to have to clear off the credit card so we can put some more on it? Because that's just the way we trained ourselves. That's just the rut. That's just the way that we were doing it. Now, that doesn't mean you got to do it that way tomorrow, but that may be the way you're doing it now. But earn and spend less than you earn. Very, very good stuff, And as we always talk about, and I've said this many times, and I'm copycatting on the back end of the great motivator Jim Rohn, is that you can't do anything in this world that's better than leaving your family information. And the way you continue to leave them information is you keep learning all your life. You never get stagnant. You keep learning, you keep learning, you keep writing that stuff down in the journals that we talk about. And at the end of the day, you have left your family, your friends, your children, whomever can get a hold of this knowledge, some great, great stuff. And as we know over the last couple of years and during the pandemic days, and Jason, doesn't it seem like that we're going to use this pandemic excuse for the rest of our lives? We have been removed almost coming on 2 years from the pandemic. But we continue to use that as an excuse not to do something, not to get involved. Why the process is slow? Why it takes longer to do this and to do that? Oh, it's that dadgum pandemic. That dude has been over with for a long time. And then like some of the places like here in the great state of Texas, we weren't shut down for more than 6 weeks, but we still continue to use that excuse. And one of the things that Charlie Munger brought up is printing money to buy votes will never work. Now, what that means is, y'all remember all the stimulus, all the PPPs, the employee retention credit, etc. Now, I want you to think about this as well. Who is claiming all this great stuff? Well, those original checks that you received in the early stages, those $1,400 checks, those had President Donald J. Trump's name on them. He's trying to take the credit. Then we changed the administration, and here comes along. And then you're starting to receive checks that say President Joe Biden on them. That's what he's talking about there. Everybody's trying to take the credit for what they're giving you, and they're not giving you nothing. Not in this world, not in this country. Have they ever went out and did something that we didn't have to pay for at a later date, and they never will. It's why balancing the budget is such an important thing, and for some reason over the last 4 decades, we've had a very difficult time figuring it out. Now, maybe we need to get involved in that too, Jason. Maybe we need to take our calculators up there and show them how to do that. Because if we do that at the local level, we do that at the state level, we go out of business. Even the state of California was able to keep their head above water, and they're considered one of the worst run states in the history of the United States. So remember that. Don't let somebody buy your vote. Don't you fall victim to taking the almighty dollar so that you can vote in a certain way. Great, great, great quote that Charlie Munger made. Votes will never work. Printing money to buy votes will never work. Excuse me. And you all know what we're talking about. Invest in yourself and you'll be at a better place at the end of the day. We talked about these success stories, and you know, when you think about Berkshire Hathaway, there are a couple of names that come to mind, and I'm going to talk about more recent companies than, you know, over the last 100 years, because one of the biggest companies that we always talk about with a 100-year history is U.S. Steel. And I'm going even deeper than that right now, because back in that day, the numbers were not as great as they are today. And when you think about top 5 companies, and not only on the stock market, but in the world, Berkshire Hathaway is right up there at the top. And some of those other companies that I think about is obviously Walmart and Microsoft, the big giant Amazon right now. Those are the type of companies that Berkshire Hathaway runs with and competes with on a daily basis. But see, here's the difference in Berkshire Hathaway versus those others. Berkshire Hathaway actually invests in those other companies. They take advantage of all the stuff. I mean, it's almost like the holding company is a mutual fund where you get the best of all the different companies. The price of approaching $500,000 for one share, a lot of people don't understand that. They think that they got to have a $500,000 to go buy one share of Berkshire Hathaway, but it doesn't work that way. You can go out, you want to put $10,000 into a Class A stock. They're going to give you a portion of that. So we'll go a little bit farther, and we'll just say the share that I had shared with you on the King Charles example from a previous episode, the $491,840 for a share. So if you had $49,000 you can go out and you own 10% of a share, and that's how it works. So don't be intimidated and driven off by the fact that you think you've got to buy a share of stock. You're not qualified to get involved in the company until you own a share of stock at the $500,000 range. That's not the way it works. Go put your money into the company after you feel like that you deserve, and they deserve to have your money, and you feel like you deserve to be a part of it. Once again, investing in yourself, and that's why they talk about, as I mentioned, go get the information and the knowledge, and then you'll have a better understanding of what the decision is you're about to do. Now, online, and I went and did some, got you some more statistics because, you know that I love these kind of things. And we're just going to go back here 17 years. We're going to go back to 2005 and we're going to come forward to 2022. And I'm going to talk to you about how Berkshire Hathaway has grown. So you think that, well, I didn't get involved back in 1965. As a matter of fact, I wasn't even born. And I wasn't fortunate enough to have $1,000 laying around like Prince Charles did. But that's not always the case. They always say, get in on the bottom floor and you're going to make the most money. Well, Berkshire Hathaway continues to prove and show that you can get in today and you can still do all the things that you want to do and achieve the financial goals that you have. In 2005, the Berkshire Hathaway company ran $81.663 million in revenue. That's what they ran. And they had 192,000 employees at that time, helping out with all of the different concepts and aspects of the Berkshire Hathaway holding company. Then I decided to go 5 more years to 2010. So you're 81,000 and we'll just round it off to 82,000 in 2005. And by 2010, they'd already grown to 136 million in revenue. 136 million, and they'd went from 192,000 to 260,000 employees. In a 5-year period, they went up 68,000 employees. That's what they needed to take care of your holdings if you were so fortunate enough to be a stockholder during this time. And we go to 2015. So we went from 82,000 to 136 million, and come to 2015, and their revenues were right at $211 million coming in on a regular basis, and their workforce had grown to 361,270 employees. They virtually within 20,000 employees had doubled their workforce in a 10-year period, from 192,000 to 361,000 employees in a 10-year period. That's astonishing to me. Now, you come back over here, and we're going to go all the way to present date, which is the last numbers that would have been released, which is 2022. So $81 million in revenue, $82 million in revenue, has now went on to $302 million in revenues in 2022. Great things that are going on at the Berkshire Hathaway company, and 192,000 employees all the way to 383,000 employees. They've doubled in size in 17 years. They're ranked 3rd on the Fortune 500 rankings of the largest corporations and revenues, et cetera. Their growth rate on an annual basis is at the tip top of all of the companies that are out there. Just big time stuff. Great company to go research. And, I've barely touched on the tip of the iceberg over the last couple of weeks on what Berkshire Hathaway is all about and what they have came up with and what they make and what they do. The whole moral to this story over the last couple of weeks is there's a lot of money to be made out there. Now, if you get involved in Berkshire Hathaway, it's that old saying, don't work for your money, let your money work for you. And here's your prime example of doing that. And if you believe in some of these companies that they're involved in, and they're involved in a lot, I'm going to bet on a daily basis you do business with a Berkshire Hathaway company, or a company that they own a lot of stock in, if not the majority of stock in, because they are the largest shareholder of a whole bunch of companies. And I know that the days of the Warren Buffett leadership is approaching, just due to the fact that he's 92 years old and his right-hand man is 99 years old. But understand that 2 of Buffett's kids are on the board, and his oldest son is set up to become the CEO of the Berkshire Hathaway holding company at a time in the future whenever Mr. Buffett himself decides that he's done. So understand these things. Whenever you have a chance to tune into the TV, the radio, pick up a newspaper, whenever you go on the internet, whenever you have a chance to go out and find out about what annual meetings are going on, it's just great information. It's great knowledge. Listen to what the leaders of that company say. Just like I always say on this show, You're not investing in the product or service. You're investing in the individual that's behind the product or service, because they're the ones that are going to be the ultimate driving engine to whether there is success or not within that particular company. So just remember these kind of things. Remember it all the way to the top. We have always loved bringing you type of information like this. And as other big companies such as the Berkshire Hathaway family comes along the lines, it's a great time for us to bring those kind of things to you. So I've given you just a little bit of tidbits over the last couple of weeks of Berkshire Hathaway. You continue to do your research. Send us some information. Send us some knowledge. Let us don't hold it to yourself. Send it to me so I can put it on the show here and put it on the airwaves so that the people all around the world can share in some of your expertise. And I promise you, I'll give you the credit for bringing it to Money, Motivation, and Mike. As always, MX3.VIP. You can email us info@mx3.vip. And please go to our YouTube channel that we've now had on the air, and we're approaching half a dozen episodes, I believe, on YouTube. YouTube.com/@MX3podcast. Go there, give us the like, subscribes, and hit the bell for the icon bell, so that we can be notified. You can be notified when new content comes out. Always love talking to you. I always love even hearing about what your thoughts, opinions, and everything else is as well. So until next time, live your life the right way.